The year 2024 has been filled with a lot of changes in the way Nigeria operates. Since the Tinubu administration came in, the cost of living has gone through the roof, as Nigeria's inflation increased to 34.2% in June from 22.8% in June 2023 and 34.0% in May 2024. As we gradually come to the end of the year with the Christmas celebrations around the corner, the question remains, and many are asking, is there any lot to be enthusiastic as we approach the festive season? Joining us now on the show to discuss state of the nation as regards Nigeria, as Nigeria continues to adjust to the harsh economic reality as we come to the end of the year, is Osita Okechukwu, former Director General of the Voice of Nigeria, VON. He would also shed light on the recent remarks advising President Bola Tinubu to be aware of governors and special interests before they kill his two progressive milestones. Welcome to the show. Mr. Osita Okechukwu, can we truly say Nigerians can afford chicken to eat this Christmas? Can you truly say? If you check the price of inflation as regards the price of chicken, it's so difficult to be able to afford chicken. Can you really see with this economic quagmire, Nigerians can afford chicken and rice to eat as their special delicacy for Christmas?
Good morning, Rufai.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Ruby, and congratulations for your birthday.
Thank you.
And my sister, Vimbai, and your audience worldwide. To be honest with you, I'm concerned and worried for the hardship in the country, the hunger in the land, the poverty in the land. And it pains me that for over going to 4 decades now, the Nigerians are dangerously sliding towards multidimensional poverty. It started far back in '86. This is exactly the 38th year, and all we are looking for had not happened. But I think Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu appreciates the suffering in the land. He appreciates the hunger in the land. He has set the parameters in terms of undertaking some economic policies that require some bold and courageous decisions, like the fuel subsidy, the issue of the exchange rate, and he has reduced our debts. I think the only missing link, and what can answer your question, Rufai, is that there are the foreign angle on what I'm expecting Mr. President to do, which I also understand from his inner cycle that he's about doing. He had prepared ground for the international community to know that we mean business by the policies he had adopted and the fiscal discipline that his regime had engaged in. I think he's in a position today, if he musters the courage, because we see President Obasanjo, we are persuading him, if he had prepared ground for the international community, go ahead and borrow hugely. It had been done all over the world. If Mr. President borrowed about $50 billion to attack our energy sector, both on the issue of fuel and the issue of electricity, our country will return to normal, and the Nigerians will breathe.
Okay.
That is the foreign angle. The domestic angle is that we still expect Mr. President to shake up the oil industry, because a lot of people have pointed at the oil mafia that have held the oil industry down. The GMD of NNPCL, yes, with this team they are doing very well, but their best is not the best to the Nigerian community. And then we are told in primary physics that if there's no distance covered, no work done. They have not done any work. We are going back to about over 20 years, 10 years, we could not repair even one refinery to reduce the price of petrol and other derivatives. But I still expect, Mr. President, that if I'm in his position, I will go with the advisory of the Trade Union Congress, that I can bring down the price of the PMS. Because in a barrel of oil, there are about 10 derivatives. The PMS comes first with about 20 gallons in the 42 gallons that makes a barrel. There's diesel, there's the fuel oil, lubricants, gas. He can make the money in gas and others because it's been discovered that the pump price affects every price in the country. The food inflation is basically because of the cost of the pump price. So if I'm in a position with Mr. Tinubu, I will take the bull by the horn. Out of the 10 derivatives, let us make profit in 9 and gain in 1. And also to reconsider the fact that Dangote had exploited the weakness and the failure of NNPC to repair its refinery and had established one. We should pay attention to the Dangote refinery and go in sync with them.
Before you go, I just want to, you said our debt has not gone down. In fact, our debt increased from 91 trillion to about 134 trillion now, as at the end of October 31st this year. So our debt has increased from 91 trillion to 134 trillion. We're borrowing like wildfire. I just wanted to clear that. Vimba?
No, please, there's what we call the debt revenue ratio.
No,
that is
debt service ratio you were trying to talk about. It was debt service ratio. All right.
Yes, the self-service ratio had reduced
debt
from
service to
100
revenue
to
ratio.
60.
Yeah, 65. I get that. But the debt itself has not reduced. The debt service to revenue ratio.
It's a major refine the macroeconomics analysis. Debt service ratio is taken as a key point for you to be able to attract foreign direct investment. And Mr. President had done so with his economic team. All he needed to do is haven't done all the parameters that is required as the international best practices. Gentlemen, my people are hungry. The country is collapsing. I need a loan. What am I doing with the loan? Is to power the energy, both electricity and the fuel company. There are turbines that is being sold all over the world that produce about 200 megawatts. Those turbines can be produced en masse, lined up in the whole Niger Delta and screwed to the grid. Within 1 year or two, we can achieve 3,000 megawatts to add to the 4 we have today. So the issue is not about taxing the people, it's about trying to innovate. And immediately, the international community have seen that you have done what Mr. President has done. You are no more leaving the people on the freebie. You tell them, the people cannot die, as Rufai said, that they must put food on their table.
If you just
that today is becoming difficult to have
much time. Still in the interest of, the budget and what the government can do for the nation and the people, we know that the oil price is currently hovering at the early 70s price. $71 is what we're looking at this morning, which is well below our budget, our estimated figure for our working budget of $77.6. Are you seeing any concern or any activity, anything being put in place by this government to plan for the fact that the oil price is dipping and we are an oil producing nation that depends on oil? Are you seeing any positive body language that assumes that from the next budget cycle we have made alternative arrangements?
Your question is very germane. Yes, but there's no government on earth that will come to the air and tell the citizenry the much is spending on security. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has spent deep and huge and continue to spend. So the security situation is improving both in the Niger Delta And the oil production will accordingly go with it. And luckily, the foreign direct investment we are getting today, more is from the oil sector. Why is it so? Because they have seen the security of that region is better guaranteed than it used to be before. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay,
but the only problem we have
pulling
is
out and
how
moving
do we
to
settle the
Angola. So what are the facts saying that there's been an increase in investment into the oil sector? Because last I checked, there's more people pulling out and opting for markets like Angola.
My sister, we are not saying they are not pulling out. But the point is that if Nigerian investors had been able, because of the environment created, to get access to funding, because immediately you have access to the funding, you have access to the expertise and the technology to do whatever those who have existed is doing. And that is what is going on. It might not mature in one day. It's like in agriculture. What Mr. President is doing in agriculture, you might not see it today, but in the next year, after the harvest, we'll see much he has done in agriculture. Okay. But the point of the matter is that what I'm saying is that Mr. President needs to shake up the oil industry. He needs to also look to those who are hampering the electricity chain, the transmission apparatus, and others. And if there are discos that have failed, for God's sake, there is a line in the agreement we had with those it was privatized to, that if you do not do well, the Nigerian state will recover their assets. Because we have suffered enough on that.
Okay.
I just pray that he has the political will to do so.
Mr. Okechukwu, just before we go, another subject. Yesterday, the biennial conference of the Nigerian Guild of Editors started in Yenagoa, Bayelsa. And the Minister of Information representing the President was talking about the achievements of this administration. We started this program by interrogating some of the claims made on behalf of the President. But the bigger part of the presentation was the President asking for collaboration, cooperation with the media, and the media being the main watchdog and the main provider of guardrails for Nigeria's democratic process. And then the veterans who spoke at that occasion also talked about the need for this cooperation. But what would you advise the Tinubu president to do? As someone who is a media person and who has been Director General of the Voice of Nigeria, what would you advise the president or the government to do to support the media in this season of dispossession? A rampaging epidemic of empty pockets for both businesses and households. What would you advise government to do for the media as a stakeholder?
Just as we were discussing, I would like him to go to the heart of the matter. The heart of the matter is the energy cost. If you are running the print media, the cost of energy affects you. If you are broadcasting, the cost of energy affects you. Mr. President should dig deep. There's no rocket science that will have 4 refineries. I will have invested over 10 billion in turnaround maintenance, year in, year out, and none of them is working. For God's sake, let's clean that audience table so that it will be across the board, both for the lady who is running a small food shop, for the barber on the street who is using his clippers that need to be switched off to electricity. This is what we are suffering. The cost of the Joy Bokwe, one of the greatest supporters of President Tinubu, had cried out about the high tariff of electricity. Who are suffering it? Not only the media. How can somebody buy a copy of newspaper if you are not putting food on the table for the children? So it's across the board. Mr. President should attack it from the energy sector. And there's nothing wrong. He had done so well by getting the international community to agree that he means business. And that's what they have been looking for. You've removed the freebies the Nigerian people are enjoying. Then meet them on one-to-one. And say, please, this is it.
Mr. Okechukwu,
you could do it yourself.
Are you saying that the president should come up with a scheme to say, look, media houses should enjoy electricity free of charge, and that the federal government would take up the bills of media houses. Something concrete. This general talk is for everybody. I'm saying the media.
No. Don't forget that the media gurus, they also suffer cost of diesel and electric and the PMS in the houses. I'm saying across the board, the reduction process had to be across the board. The media should be helped, but it's better not about palliatives. It's about concrete, and the energy is the heart of the economy, both for the poor, the rich, and the super rich. That's my submission.
Okay, on that note, I would like to thank you very much, Mr. Osita Okechukwu, former Director General of the Voice of Nigeria.